That's what the show's all about. You know, we have guests from time to time, but at the end of the day, we want you to be our guest by watching and learning. We can help you get to the next level very, very quickly without revenue. Guys, I'm going to say it again. And this is my quote, and I own it. You are already making enough money in your business. You're just not getting it to the bottom line. That's it. It's as simple as that. As I can't say it any simpler than that. But you're already making enough money. You're just not getting it to the bottom line.
From Sarah Systems and Billy Go, this is No BS with Billy Stevens and Landon Brewer, the unfiltered, straight-shooting podcast that dives deep into the heart of home service trades to uncover the truth about running your business. You're entering the No BS zone with Billy and Landon.
Welcome to the No BS show with Billy and Landon. We're so excited to have you guys here today. Today's topic is going to be how to control your labor costs during this kind of crazy summer we're having across the country. And with that, let me introduce my co-host here, Mr. Landon Brewer. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fabulous, Billy. I'm doing fabulous. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. It's the only important component to what we do that determines profitability. So you know what? Why don't we come up with a creative title like, how do we piss off prima donna techs? we could call it that. The techs that just they're out for themselves and out to get you. How do we piss those people off? Maybe that's what the title of this was. No, but in all seriousness, this is probably something we should make multiple episodes, or at least, I'm sure we'll talk about, over the years, many, many times. But man, like, we are labor brokers at the end of the day. What our business is, the service business. If you are in this business, you're a labor broker. And how you manage that labor, the productivity with which you manage that labor determines how profitable and successful you will be. And there is a big contingent right now online that, all the new age gurus that we sometimes refer to, it's the same playbook. The same people that lack substance entirely in their messaging to this audience of HVAC, plumbing, electrical professionals, the same people that lack any relevant knowledge and substance repeat the same talking points. Grow this big business, go out and pay the most money and hire the gunslingers and use this wide shot marketing approach and do this, and it's all sales. And that's the biggest line of bullshit I've ever heard. All of those people, don't believe what you hear. All of those people have businesses. They have terrible businesses. And that's what really irritates me when I look at social media. Is you got all these loudmouth morons that are espousing these terrible things. Get out of the space. Get off social media. You're hurting people. You're doing it intentionally. It's stupid. Today, what we're going to talk about is the reality. That's a myth. This is reality. The reality is, if you can control the labor, if you can control your labor costs, if you can control the productivity and efficiency of your labor, that's going to yield profitable results. Whether you're a $1 million business, $2 million business, whatever it is, you should be profitable all the way up. Not like these idiots that have never made any money. How you doing today, Billy?
I thought the show was about...
I got started too early today.
So Landon, I thought the show was about making time for date night with our wives. But anyway, I guess we'll go in the direction you're going. And I'll tell you what, how did he find that Red Bull or whatever it is he drinks? Awesome. My man is on a tangent. He is on a tangent. So let's just break this down a little bit. This isn't about the gurus. This is about time management. This is about labor management. And this is something that really needs to be taken care of, because we've been in this world where we don't have enough techs. We've been in this world where, we're having to pay and we're not getting anything in return, or we have these businesses that, it's us against them. All of these things are because we don't have the structure. And we don't have the business at the forefront, and you need to bring the business back to the forefront, because everyone is working at and for the business, even the owners, right? Bring everyone back to the business as the forefront. And this is the time to do that. And what we mean by this is everybody needs to be aligned. We all have to be aligned with the same objective, and that is the success of the business. That is what pays us. That is what takes care of our medical, our insurance, our livelihoods, our futures. Everything that we do is about that business. And if you are a small business and in this industry, you have to take the business back. You can't be afraid to be a leader in the business. And at the end of the day, this is what we're talking about. This subject matter is controlling labor costs today. But to do that, you have to take your business back. And taking your business back requires you to do a lot of things, to be transparent with your employees, to provide them with the tools to do the best job that they can do, and many, many other things, which we can go on and on and on. That's why we created this podcast, and we can go on those subject matters. But today we really want to hone in on controlling your labor when there aren't calls. What do you do? How do you do it? And this is what we do, first and foremost. If the calls aren't there, I mean, this is a weird summer. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm talking to contractors every day, and they're just like freaking out. I mean, we're just like, we're down. We can't sell. If we sell something, we can't get it financed. It just, all these things are coming together. And you and I talked about this on a show a couple years ago, that this day was coming. You know, when you have a catastrophic event like COVID, and everybody stays home, and then you get stimulus money, people are buying. If you had a heartbeat and had a business, you were successful. Now the real business leaders need to rise to the top if they're going to succeed. I didn't even get back into this industry to do acquisitions, but I'm doing more acquisitions than ever right now for debt, for literally debt, to pay off debt for a business owner because he hasn't controlled his costs. He hasn't become the leader he needs to be to get his employees engaged to help successfully run this business.
Well, that's it. I mean, so the debt, the failing companies, the companies that are in rough spot financially, I'm sure there are exceptions to this, and it's not 100%, but it's got to be 98% of those businesses failing for one reason and one reason only, because they don't control their labor as a percentage of revenue.
I agree with that. Is it the biggest percentage against revenue that you have in your business? It's the number one, no matter what. If you break your P&L down and you have percentage beside every line item, it's number one. It's the tallest number, the biggest number, the fattest number. And it's the one you should be looking at. And these times, you should look at it all the time. I do. That's what I focus on. And then I focus on the other stuff, but I focus on them next. Labor is what matters. Yep. And I think where we mess up, if there's not a lot of calls on the board, do you give them all to your best guys? Or do you give everybody a sprinkling of them so they stay happy? Do you bring a guy in when you get another call that you told to stay home? I mean, these are legitimate things. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, it's the little pivots and moves that you make all day long in business that are going to determine what the outcome is that day, right? Like that's what I love about the business. We eat what we kill every day. So, you could have had a crappy couple of days, the days prior, and boom, you just have a successful day because everybody's firing all cylinders. You got the right people in front of the right customers. They have the right result. They're just following the process and it works. So I love that. But if you've run yourself into a situation where you don't have enough calls, you have people that have been sitting, which quite frankly, you kind of always want to have yourself in that position a little bit where you got just, not enough calls for one or two guys, one or two install teams need some work. You kind of want that because you want to foster a sense of competition, and you definitely 100% want to put the ball in the hands of somebody that's got the best shot at getting you to where you want to go. Right. So, but that's the logical part. What happens is most of these businesses, emotion gets into it, feelings get into it. And whether it's like, a manager saying, well, I want to keep my guys happy. And, I want to make sure I spread the love around, and this guy hasn't had any work. And this is like, You got to cut all of that stuff out. It's got to be very rigid process, system, control. And if your process says, hey, next guy, next highest batting average up is the next person to go try and take a swing. Right. That's just always how it works. Hey, you want to work a little bit more, like go show me that you are the top tier installer. You can get this job done in 7 hours and in perfection, and the next crew can do it in 12. You know what? You're getting it. Like you have to foster that sense of competition. You have to care. You have to build a great culture. You have to build a great business. But the only sure way to never lose employees is to become the business of choice that pays the most, that has the most leads. That's just the best run business. And the only way to do that is be the most profitable. And the only way to do that is to control your labor.
There you go. Let's talk a little bit about the batting average. It's a concept that when we start seeing a dip in calls, that's the first thing we go to. I mean, we go to batting average. And what is the batting average? So this is how we do it. Your best hitter gets 3 of the best calls, right? And once he has the 3 best calls, then your second hitter is up to bat. And he gets the 3 best of those calls, if there's any left. And it goes on that way and on, okay? If you have 5 techs and you only have 9 calls, do you give them to all 5? No. You give 3 to the top 3. If they're lower level calls, you may want to give it to one of the lower level guys, give him 3, but the batter number 3 is waiting for something better to come through. You're always maximizing your potential to get a base hit. You got to get base hits. Get your homers when you can, but always get your base hits. It's very important that you do this, and you do this now if your call volume is down. Do you call around and you get all these tune-ups just to keep guys busy when you're consistently not being able to keep them all busy? I don't. I just don't. I make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to provide them with calls. And you can't blame your web people if you're not having calls. It's not their fault. It's the economy. Well, it could be their fault. I don't know who you're using, but there's several factors that come in place. But all those things go out the window when it comes to managing labor. It doesn't matter if you got 1 call on the board and you got 5 techs. You're going to give it to the guy that hasn't worked in 3 days, or are you going to give it to the guy that might sell something? That 1 call. You're going to give it to someone that's going to try to sell something that should be able to close something. And you need to run your business that way. And unfortunately, you're going to have to run your business that way this summer, unless you're just fortunate to be in a spot where the sun just continues to beat down. But most of the country, like where I'm at in Dallas, I mean, we're expecting highs in the 80s again next week. We just come out of a week with the highs in the 80s. And then you couple that with the economy, the amount of finance rejections we're getting now is higher than it's ever been. And so I have direct access to the CEO of a couple of finance companies. And so who am I calling? I'm calling the lead hitter, right? And I'm like, why am I getting all these denials? What is going on? What did you change? Then I get the standard answer from all of them every time. We haven't changed anything. Well, yeah, you did. Because I'm getting a lot of denials, and I need you to fix it, or tell me what I need to do so your algorithm will like what I send you. This is how far I'll go.
A whole nother show on that, by the way. We should probably make a note on this, because the amount of data that some of these finance companies possess is staggering, and some of it's staggering that they don't capture it because they're essentially data companies. But I've had a lot of success over the years, especially in times like this. I would be on with my rep from whatever finance company, and I would get a report by location, by branch, how many apps, how many were approved, what plans were asked for, what the cost was, so I can get kind of a control around it. And then I would have them break it down by zip code. So if we had specific zip codes that had higher approval rates than others, we could focus our marketing efforts and attention on those zip codes and not focus on the ones that were more likely to be declined. But without that data, we you don't know, right? So again, separate show, we can really dive into this.
Oh my gosh, let's do that.
Opportunity with finance. But yeah, that's again, what we're talking about is it all goes back to data, right? The finance thing we were just talking about, efficiency. If you take the data and you live by the data and you've got your batting average and you're constantly watching, what happens is most companies, they have it or they have some form of it and they don't listen to it. It's like, oh, you walk up and say, who's your best guy? Who's your top performer? And they say, well, these are my two top performers. You look at the data, it's like, well, this guy's pretty good. That guy is not currently a top performer. Why are you giving him well, he usually is the top performer. Well, not today. I would bring him in for some training, do something else, but switch the schedule around.
Yeah.
And again, they just kind of ignore the data. They go off feelings, and this happens all over. Whether it's giving people hours or extra time or extra commissions or extra spiffs or advances or special treatment, it just happens because inherently they want to do the right thing, but they end up doing the wrong thing.
Yep. And never noticed how when it slows down, the labor costs spike. I mean, they just get so high, 30, 35%. I've seen some 40% from the folks I've been talking to. And a lot of that is several reasons. Obviously, sales are down, but it could be many, many things that cause this big spike. And the spike is because you're putting people out on the road that have no business being on the road when the call volume's not there. And that's a big contributor to your labor spike. And the last thing you want right now is a labor spike because what are you wanting to do? What's your tendency to do when it's not busy? Go spend more money on PPC. Now you've got two runaway machines, 2 of them. And then it goes on from there. You have to control your cost. There's no reason why you can't make the same amount of money percentage-wise when you're having these issues as you do when you're not having these issues. Great leaders, great business owners, great CEOs in this industry understand that if you're chasing top line, you're chasing vanity, right? What you should be chasing is no matter where you are, you should be making a profit. And it's easy to do. And this data, this finance data, which I highly recommend we shoot a show on this probably next week. I want to shoot this show next week for sure. This data is readily available. You can get this data if you don't have it already. This is important stuff, where are we selling stuff? You need to know, and all that stuff is available to you. That's what we do. We even know there's companies out there that can do soft pulls for you based on an address. And why not know the credit score before you even go? We do. Yeah. You know what I mean? We've been taught for so long to use the dispatch fee to determine whether we're going to see a customer or not. And if you're not busy right now, you're waiving that dispatch fee like crazy. So tell me it's not a deterrent. It's a deterrent to business. Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Yeah. So what happens, if in the event that you got companies out there today that are supposedly in the peak of their year, right, and they're running at 40% labor cost, I mean, if you were in their shoes, what would you do?
Oh, I'll tell you exactly. I've never been at 40%. I made sure I started figuring this out a long time ago. So my labor cost is running about the same, maybe just a tad higher than normal because it is what it is, right? But it's not doubling or 10 points up or 15 points up like I'm seeing from a lot of people that I'm talking to. And so the first thing we do is we go to the batting order immediately when we're not having success on booking enough calls. If a call comes in and it's a low-level call, I don't bring in another tech to run it. I schedule it for the next day unless it's a no cooling, got to have it now. Obviously, I'm going to bring in somebody to do that, or I'll replace a call that maybe my A guy, maybe this one's better than that one that he has up next. I may replace it and put that in front of him and take the other one and move it to the second guy if he's got one that's not as valuable, right? So you always are going back to your top batters first. If you get something valuable in, I go to the top of the batting order once again. And I'll find a call that's already in the order, in the lineup, that maybe isn't as valuable as this one I just got. Maybe I've got a no coolant on a 10-year-old and I got a no coolant on a 15-year-old. Well, I know 15's dead. It's an old one. It's ready to go. I also know that the credit score, but I know the credit score on the 10-year-old is higher than the 15-year-old. Guess where I'm going? I'm going to the 10.
Well, to some extent, all the calls are the same, right? If you have your guys running it, they're good at running the same playbook. You've got the same service call protocol, and they're good at adhering to that. You're managing that process. All the calls are an opportunity to some extent, right?
Right.
Some may have different opportunities than others, but at the end of the day, if they're just running consistently, you should yield a consistent result. So what I find is that when I've got a 40% labor or whatever the issue might be, the first thing I do is you dive into which specific technicians, installers, salespeople, who's the culprit, right? And let's figure that out, because I'm sure everybody has a slightly different model, but for in this example, it might be that we target 6 to 7% for install labor, and you target 6 to 7% for field labor, and then you've got 6 to 7% for sales wages, right? So whatever your model is, whichever category is off, you dive in there and then you go to find the culprits and you figure out, hey, or talk to the manager, what's the specific challenge with this person? What are you doing to change this so that we don't have this problem? Or do we need to top grade this individual? Or, what's the issue? So my first thing is always zero in on the specific individuals that are out of alignment.
I agree. You got to know what's going on in your company, and depending on what size it is, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not down there doing any of this stuff. So my business is a little bit larger. So let's talk about that. If you're in that $1 to $3 million range, you're probably you need to be all on top of this. And if you're above that, you need to probably have your office manager or whoever it is you have running things in the house in-house on top of this. And then it's training. It goes to training as well. I mean, dispatchers are the greatest multitaskers in the world, but they're lazy too, and they'll do the shortcuts as well. And so these things need to be in your processes where it's natural to them. One thing about a dispatcher's mind, it's built to be multitasking and get a lot of things done at once. And so all you have to do is just train that mind to what do you want it to do? What do you want these people to do, consistently? And they'll do it because they're built to do that. That's their mindset. That's why they're dispatchers. And it's a very unique mindset that they have. I couldn't dispatch for one day. I'd get fired 10 times. And that's like after they fired me and pushed me out the door, they would just say it 9 more times. Because it's just something I couldn't do. But I can coach them to do it, right, in a logical way, but I couldn't physically do it. And that is what you need to be doing as the owner, is you've got to logically look at things and go, I need to solve these problems, and how do I solve them? And then I got to teach this to these folks to keep this labor rate down, because you even need to look at where they're going. You need to be able to know where your ads are working today. Are they working in this particular area, or is it particular keywords? Where's this working? And group it together if you can. Just do everything to consolidate costs. Keep your trucks from traveling more. Keep from putting too many trucks on the road. I know it's the hardest thing to do as a business owner, to let people sit. It's a hard thing to do, but you're gonna have to do it when you have to do it. And if anything, as a good leader, they'll understand that if I don't perform, I sit. So my choices are to perform or not perform, or perform or not perform somewhere else. Well, I'm telling you, if you have a good company and you're not busy as you should be, or you're not hitting budget, your competitors aren't either.
Yeah.
It's just not you. It's an overall thing. When you're busy and then you're not busy when you should be busy, it's not you. It's everyone. And so this is time when you need to be a leader.
In my previous roles, I've had previous roles like COO or VP of Ops. Kind of how I viewed those roles is to go in and be the fixer, right? So, I didn't spend my time at the, whatever, the Las Vegas operation that's just growing at a 50% compound annual growth rate and record breaking profits. I didn't spend time sitting in there trying to BS with people. I went to the ones that were underperforming or, struggling with profitability. And so I would go there. I had this routine where I'd go there, I would sit, I would assess, I would watch what people do, the key people in the different areas. I would just kind of like chart out what they were doing. And every time there was like this realm of chaos and some mismanagement, and especially time mismanagement, which then led into the field and led to a lack of productivity and a real lack of focus. And so there's always payroll issues. Almost every single time there's a struggling company, there's payroll issues behind it. So eventually I would just go in there and say, guess what? I'm the new chief payroll officer. And you're not going to submit payroll to the payroll service until it comes through me for approval. And here's what it should look like. And here's the percentages. And if something is out of line, I'm going to kick it back to you and tell you to either fix it because something screwed up, or ask you, hey, what are you doing to fix these things? Your install labor is 4 points too high. Who's the culprit? What are you doing to fix it? If it's technicians, like, what are the plans with these people? And inevitably, when you start looking at it, you start, watching their time, watching what they're doing. Is this job taking 14 hours and it should take 8 hours? Is that, you start looking at that stuff and you just quickly see patterns. Then you have to teach these guys how to do it. But what happens is that most people just don't have that level of detail, and payroll skyrockets out of control. And it doesn't matter how much money you're making. It doesn't matter if it's winter, summer, fall. That just leads to an epidemic of non-profitability.
Yes, sir. These businesses require this type of operation. We get settled in as we're a mom and pop industry, right? That's what we are. And we get complacent and we get comfortable. We're making a good living. We bought a house. We got a boat. Got the nice, Explorer or Suburban, whatever. Kids are going to camp. All these things are happening, right? And we get complacent. And then something like this comes along and we wonder what's happening. And being a business owner, we hear a lot about, I want to be, I want to build my business where I don't have to be there all the time. I can take some time off, I can do all these things. Those are all the right things, but you have to change what your job title is or what your job duties are, is what I meant to say. You have to be this person that is looking at the numbers and getting data. And if you can't get good data, then you're going to be lost. I don't care what you say. If you can't get good data out of your software, you're not going to fix things because how are you going to know what to fix? And so, labor costs can be up for several reasons. Number one, you're not doing call by call, or maybe your guys just aren't performing for whatever reason. Maybe he had a fight with his wife or something, or something's going on in his life. Whatever, they're off. Whatever the thing is, there's a million different things that can go wrong, and you have to be aware of them. And you can still be that guy or girl that is able to take time off because you're making a good living and you're relaxing. But this is your new job. It's you have to evolve to this person that starts diving in deeper to the little things that matter, and these little things that matter have big results. And that's really what we're trying to talk about here is how do you change the way you're managing to get the most out of this labor cost that you're getting yourself into. By default, guys, I've talked to thousands of business owners and I see the same thing over and over and over again. And I believe this is because we have a tech shortage and we think if we just add all this stuff, it's going to be why techs will come work for us, but it's not true. And what I mean is, and I've harped on this. If you followed me at all, you know I'm going to harp on this over and over again. But we build the most complicated pay systems I've ever seen in my life. I can't believe what the heck I see. It blows my mind. I guarantee you, I've seen pay systems that will give Albert Einstein a headache.
Yep.
It is so nuts. And I don't understand why we have to do that. We got to, this is job one. If your labor cost is 25% or higher, 30%, 35%, it's the way your complicated pay system is the reason why it's happened this way. You can pay your techs more money at 20% labor than you can at 40% labor. I know it doesn't make sense, but you can if you build the model correctly.
Yep.
And you don't complicate it. I mean, I was talking to a guy today, and he's got when they sell system, they got a sliding scale from 3 to 7%. And I go, who the hell keeps up with that? What triggers 3%? What triggers 5, 6, 6.25, 6 7/8? Who keeps up with all that? And why?
It's like every payroll in that system is like always an argument, right? It's like, well,
Yes.
we didn't use the whip, we didn't use the disconnect, we didn't do this, well, we hadn't, this was this less time than that, and so I need 4% instead of 5. It's absurd, right? Because there's no just all of these pay structures work, assuming that they're designed correctly and you're priced right, and it's like you put some thought into it and you just didn't do some random thing. They all work. The integrity and management of that payroll structure
is the problem.
What it all comes down to. Yeah.
Yeah. And we all end up in the same spot. So why don't we just fix it and get rid of the complication?
Yeah.
Make it simple. Make it so everyone can understand it. And it just costs you more money. I mean, if you're paying a guy $30 an hour and you got a $30 spiff, you just doubled your cost. Your labor cost. You just doubled it. If you're using spiffs in today's world, I don't know. I'm going to end up like you. If I had a Red Bull right now, I don't know what'd be coming out of my mouth.
I want to see us trade places one day. So I'm going to show up in like my Tommy Bahama shirt one day, and you're going to be all jacked up, and I'm just like, so Billy, welcome.
Give me a Diet Coke. I'm ready to get wild.
I love it. Yeah, but,
it's
so why don't you talk about this for a second? So we've talked about, okay, you got the payroll, so we got the payroll structure that we need. We have to figure out how to manage, but you got to, what you focus on gets results. And I'll say this. Most of us have different backgrounds and skill sets, right? A lot of us have technical backgrounds and skill sets, or sales backgrounds and skill sets. I have accounting and finance kind of background and skill sets, which enables me to focus on numbers, right? So I feel like that gave me a leg up. So naturally, if you come from a technical background or sales background, you're going to focus on what is of interest to you, which is like, we have to have the best techs, you have the most proficient, effective techs. Or sales. We got to drive this thing to millions, and those are all great attributes. But you have to be able to take the hat off and put the hat on of labor management. If you focus on nothing else, focus on that, because that's going to determine the profitability of the business.
Yeah.
And it may suck, it may not be natural, but you have to learn that. You have to have that focus on that. Otherwise, the rest of the stuff doesn't matter. They say sales hides all sins. That's bullshit. It does not. It does not make up for like the more that you sell and you maintain this problem, the bigger the problem becomes for you.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't hide all sins. If you can't figure out how to manage your labor rate at a lower level, it's going to suck worse when you're at the higher level.
Yeah, and I hate when the word is that because you're a smaller business, your costs are naturally higher. I disagree with that 100%. That's a total myth. And that gets taught a lot. That is not the case. And selling revenues, growing revenues, to fix your problems for not making money is a myth. And if you're being told this stuff, you're being lied to. You're being bullshitted. That's why this is the No BS show. Hopefully, I just didn't get us banned on YouTube or whatever.
I'll bleep it. You can put a little bleep.
We'll bleep that. Because I'm passionate about what I'm saying, and we need to pay people as much as possible, but we need to do it in a simple way that they understand and everyone in the company understands. We need to align the entire company on the same objectives and become one team, not us against them. And anytime that we do that, we can build a culture in the business. We all immediately, contractors, when I meet with them, we have great culture. We have great employees. Our customers love us. And it's not true. It's not true. There is whole nother level or several levels of culture that hasn't been discovered in your business. Even us, we never stop trying to get to that level of culture that exists out there that we haven't seen yet. You can't be satisfied where you are.
What's the surefire way to sabotage your culture? Again, it's just to violate the integrity of the culture, to violate the integrity of your systems, to give people the special privileges or give this guy a one-off or a special circumstance. You don't think that everybody else in your company knows that that's happening? You don't think that everybody else in the company is watching you and sees you is like, oh, nobody will ever know. I give this guy 5 extra hours because he's, blah, blah, blah. That always comes back to bite you in the ass.
That's right.
Always comes back.
So just be up front with it. Dadgummit. Just be up front and go, that's my intention. And then when you perform, you'll get that privilege.
Yeah.
Don't hide it because they already know it. And so that's why you have this us versus them all the time. Just be transparent. Tell them the truth. When's the last time you told them that how much money the company makes? Which don't tell them, show them. Show them your financials. Be transparent. I guarantee you 90% of the companies out there today have managers in place that are bonused on revenue and not on gross profit.
Oh, I know. There's one of the biggest company out here in SoCal. I was just talking to a guy that was just hired to run one of the businesses. And he was just bragging about how his bonus is based on, hitting revenue goals and growing the business. And he's just like, this is great. I can make $20,000 a month in bonus and I can just discount the crap out of it. I just got to keep hiring people and I'm like, oh my God, that's what got the company into the problem in the first place. They're just doubling down now that they're PE owned.
But yes, get them on the gross profit. Get them on the margin. That is what you need to be bonusing them on. And the only way you can bonus them on the margin is you have to give them full control of the COGS. And to give them full control of the COGS, you have to show them on the P&L statement what the COGS are and teach them what it's all about. You're not going to get anywhere until you do. If you continue to just do it on revenue, you're creating a bomb that is going to go off at some point and blow up everything. Because just like you just said, I'm going to do whatever it takes. If this thing sells for $10,000 and I can sell it for $7,000 and hit bonus, what am I going to do? I'm going to sell it at $7,000. My gosh, make them accountable for the COGS and tell them I'll take the overhead or I'll have someone else responsible for the overhead costs, but I need you to hit this gross profit. My overhead cost is 35%. I want to make it 15% bottom line. That means you need to be at 50% gross profit. I need that 15% delta at this break-even point, right? At this revenue point, this right here. This is the budget. This is what we're going for. And so when we do annual budgets, we have growth in there. The growth is never the large number. What we're trying to do is, how do I improve the gross profit? That's what we focus on. How do we improve that margin? And all of my managers are responsible for the COGS, cost of goods sold. That's all they should be managing. They should not be managing revenue. They need to know what it costs to run a business. They need to understand the financial statements. They need to understand that when you discount something $3,000 and you only make 15% on a $10,000 job, you just lost $1,500.
But it was a $10,000 sale.
Yeah.
So That just still blows my mind. So you've got that. That's a great setup. That's where everybody wants to be. How do you go about finding those people, or do you find those people, or do you have to train and teach all of these people? Because in my experience, there aren't a whole lot of people that understand financial statements out there, being operators of plumbing, air conditioning, electrical businesses, right? There's not a lot of people that came out of the field and really understand even what cost of goods sold are, or how to, like, okay, my labor is out of control or whatever is out of control. How do I fix it? Most of them just
They
don't
don't know.
know.
Be surprised how many of them don't even have
How
an
do you do
accounting.
that?
Well, if I coach anyone, that's where we start, is I educate them on the P&L. There's no reason for me to do anything else at this point. That's where we start with every customer that comes in and wants coaching, is we go straight to the P&L statement, and we have them put percentages on each line item, and then we go through it one by one until they fully understand it. And then if they're a company that's of reasonable size and they have managers that are, department managers and stuff like that, then we teach them how to teach their employees how to read a P&L. They have to know how to read the P&L, the COGS, the revenue, the COGS, and the gross profit. They have to understand how that works. And so this is the most important component. And if you're not doing this in your business right now today, you need to get the education on a P&L statement. It's very simple if you have percentages off to the right-hand column, year to date and month to date. So if you're 7 months in, you should have all 7 months, January through July. And then that is your year to date total with its percentages when you average them all out. So you have your monthly cost percentages, and then you have your average. And then those averages are how you determine how the business is doing. And then the month to month tells you how you did that month, right? And so we get them educated on their P&L statements, and that is the number one thing. And what typically happens when you go and you join a best practice or you join all these other things, they'll talk about financial statements, but they don't dive in and help you learn how to fix them. Because nothing else matters in a business more than your P&L. No KPI, nothing can fix what you can learn from a P&L. And you know this because this is your background. When you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, you're looking at the P&L. You're looking at the balance sheet. And then you're looking at all the reports that come up to you and see how you can affect those things, right? That is what you do. And that's what you should be doing in your business. Your business today is the first thing most owners do when they walk in the door, and don't laugh at this as you, how many calls do we have? What's the revenue yesterday? What did we do in revenue? All right. It's not, what did we do with the gross profit? Did we hit all of our gross profit numbers? Right? It's always about top line and how many calls we have. That's it. That's what we ask for. And then you may look at a few KPIs. And if you land in a range that you're supposed to be in, you check it off good, and you go play tennis or whatever it is you do. And that's not the way it should be if you really want to build a good business. And we got to start at the financial statements. I have no college education. I have no accounting background whatsoever. I was just blessed the fact that the only way my banker, with my father's co-signing, because I had nothing, the only way my banker would agree to do this, he had a great business that was already at his bank. The owner had died. Sorry about that, guys. The owner had passed away. So he knew the business. He knew the business would be okay if I just didn't go in there and muck it up, right? He had a great business, a great customer. Unfortunately, passed away. He had a new guy coming in that didn't really know anything about it, but had determination and work ethic. So he had the ingredients that he needed. And so his demand was, I'll loan you this money, obviously with your father's signature, co-signing, but you must come in here every month and learn how to read a P&L and learn what a balance sheet is and what it does and how it should be. And had he not done that, we wouldn't probably be on this podcast right now. And so I am just doing what he did for me. That's all I do when I coach you, is I get that fixed first. And then once we have that fixed, then we work on culture.
Yep.
That's what we work on next. Because culture can make that financial statement look really pretty, really fast. And so we open up with transparency so that we can create teammates throughout the company, and then we align everybody in the same direction with the same goals, and we don't hide anything, because your business is a bridge club party with a bunch of people there gossiping. That's your business. Nothing is sacred. Nothing is secret. And no matter what you think, it's not. And so then stop hiding it. Just become transparent and honest with everyone, and you will be fine. I mean, our business has bloomed up to $20 million, and the majority of my employees are Applebee waiters and Home Depot workers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's where we go get our people to grow our business, and we teach them. And we start with financials. Everyone in my company has seen my financial statements. I'm not hiding anything. And if you go and present your financials to a company and you're making 10%, just ask them, if we bring in $1,000, how much money does a company make? The answer you're going to get is $500 that'll be your number one answer. They think half the money is profit.
Yeah.
That's gross profit, but it's not bottom line profit.
It really is interesting. It's really interesting to do that exercise, just to kind of go around the room and say, hey, we did a $10,000 job. How much money do you think, hits the bottom line? And it's just that it's eye-opening to people. And, I'm sure there's some people who are like, well, I'm sure we could make more money here. But it really is eye-opening to people. And if you could teach, I've always believed this, I probably said this before, but if we could get every person, I different organizations, I would say, you know what, we could absolutely be $1 billion organization today.
Mm-hmm.
All it takes is this, that knowledge that you're just talking about, the education that, if you espouse that down to every technician, installer, every person that works in the office, administrative, down to the part-time parts runner. If the part-time parts runner knew what KPIs needed to be achieved every single day, and knew how to read the P&L, and knew how to affect labor rate in your organization, do you think that you wouldn't be a $2 billion company? I mean, it's just a natural consequence of having that knowledge.
Yes, sir.
Right?
It is. Getting everybody on the same page. I don't care who it is. They're sweeping floors. They need to be on the same page. We need to all be aligned in the same direction. That is true culture. And be transparent. Let them know, hey, a public company is transparent. Everybody in the country knows what happened. Yep. So your employees know. So why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we being transparent? Why are we always hiding everything? Stop hiding. Be transparent. Help these people understand what we need to do to be successful. And it will grow. And it will prosper. I mean, it's frustrating.
I was talking to one of our partners earlier today, and great business in North Carolina. And, we were talking about this topic, and he was bringing up the fact that this was a big learning curve for him, and that, he had built a reasonably sized business and just didn't have the labor controls on that he needed, but, had a good culture, and his labor was consistently running, and it was inconsistent, right? It was, sometimes it was 30%, sometimes it was 45%. So, kind of all over the place. And it was, at the end of the month, usually 8 to 10 points too high, which is pure profit, right? And if you're operating at 10% profit, it's 10% too high. That just made you break even. That means that you're running a charitable nonprofit organization that's purpose is just to feed, take care of some customers and to feed your employees. It's just not the way to run, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you're just a charitable giving person that never has to make money. So, he had these issues, and so we started diving into the field wages and the not the technicians, but the installers. And, we dealt with that first, because it was like, hey, I got too many installers. We've got 2 leads on every job that are going out. We're trying to keep the best ones. And it was like the first thing I saw. I was like, well, why are all these jobs day and a half jobs? Like, especially if you got 2 leads, what you really need is like a better system. Go out there, make it a, 1 day job, not have to have basically a full day wasted by doing another half day job the same day that the customer's already paid for. Right. And so, he came in, he's like, hey, we're going to pay y'all more money. You're going to make way more money per hour. You're going to work less. You're going to have more days off during the week. I need you to design a system that's going to, and he's a dynamic leader. So it was easier probably for him to pull off, but he split the teams. He's now got double the amount of leads. He's bringing in the Applebee's people that you're talking about. And he's set the expectation that jobs need to be done in a day, which, around the country, if you're watching this, there's always certain weird exceptions and cut-ins and all that stuff. But, depending on your situation, especially in Dallas, you can do two jobs in a day, right? If you're not doing if you're an air conditioning business, you're not putting in an install in a day,
something's wrong.
Regularly, there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
And it kills your capacity and efficiency.
Oh my gosh, the cost is insane.
So he addressed that. He gave this opportunity. Now today, it was it was rough at first, right? But now today he's got double the number of installers. He's now pulling people that were helpers that became leads that are now going into becoming turn techs, et cetera, and making more money. And they came in with a different set of skills, which is awesome. But the guys that stayed in that role are making more money, way more money per hour, and get more time off. And all of them are happy and love it now. But again, you got to go through that. There's change in all of these things. And I'm not sitting here telling everybody in the audience to just go out and change and just, hammer it down. You have to think about how you're going to do it. But at the end of the day, you got to be a leader and do it. And then you have to hold everybody accountable to the rules that you set.
Let's do a show and just tell them how to do it.
I like it.
Let's do that.
The meetings to have and we should absolutely do that.
All right, I'm making my notes, everybody. We're gonna
show and tell.
We're gonna dive into this. So y'all stay tuned. We're just gonna dive into this and just show you how to do it. I think we'll get a lot more effective that way. I know I see it. When I do coach, literally it's 3 weeks. 3 weeks of just showing them, and it's done. And so might as well do it on this show. But we need you to like and subscribe. We need to be more places. We need more people to see this. This is a large industry, and they need our help. I mean, I was on a call with a contractor today, showing me his paper form they still fill out. They don't even present digitally. I mean, isn't there some best practice group out there that still coaches to do it that way? There's a couple of them still doing that.
Coaches in groups, yep.
I mean, my gosh.
Doing that,
what the heck?
Doing the old paper towel close.
Those days are over. My gosh. Couldn't believe it. Okay. But
well,
hey.
I mean, so what do you think, Billy? Do you think we gave them enough nuggets to, on how to control payrolls, or anything we missed?
Man,
cover later on.
I think we could take this subject and continue to go further and further with detail. I want to go into more detail here. What I first wanted to point out, if you haven't noticed, the passion in Landon today about this subject. This means something to him, a lot to him. He's been doing this for a long time, and we were in we call it the board meeting. We have a board meeting with contractors, every week at the same time, a couple hours before we shoot this show, and this is what we talked about today, and it's a big problem, and you're all experiencing it, and we need to help you fix it, and so we can do that, and that's what we're going to do. That's what the show's all about. We have guests from time to time, but at the end of the day, we want you to be our guest by watching and learning, and we can help you get to the next level very, very quickly without revenue. Guys, I'm going to say it again. And this is my quote, and I own it. I know it gets out there. Other people are claiming it, but I won't go into that. You know who they are, Landon. You are already making enough money in your business. You're just not getting it to the bottom line. That's it. It's as simple as that. I can't say it any simpler than that. but you're already making enough money. You're just not getting it to the bottom line. And that's what we're going to help you do.
You already have enough leads. That's what everybody's kind of crying and moaning about. And the fact that you've got a couple of leads on your board every day means that you should be making good money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whether you have 2 or 20 or 200, if you got a couple of leads on your board, figure out a way to run some calls, you should be making money today. But it requires labor control.
It does. That's where you got to start. You got to have the extra money to grow the business, and you can't give it all away. You got to get it to the bottom line. That is your healthiness. I appreciate everybody for joining us today. I'll institute a no more than one energy drink rule before a show going forward. Hey, one thing I noticed.
I think I even broke out a few curse words today for the first time. I watched myself.
It is not even the energy drinks. I tease him about that. It's the passion. He's serious about this, and we know we can help. So that's why we want you to pay attention to the show. We try to keep it as short as possible. Join us next week. We're gonna jump into this and give you detail. All right. Hey, I want to thank everyone for joining us. And with that, my friend, what do you have to say?
I got to say, hey, I love this topic. So to be continued. But in order for us to continue to provide you such dynamic content and an amazing host, we need you to like and subscribe because, Billy might lose me and then there wouldn't be much of a show.
Absolutely. Only way I'd lose you because you got lost.
I love it. Like you said, no BS, right? No
That's
BS.
Right. All right, guys and girls, thank you for joining us. Talk to you later.
No BS with Billy and Landon is produced and delivered to you by Sarah Systems. At Sarah Systems, we've created a better way to run your home service business and unlock unprecedented growth. Our field service software was designed by real home service professionals to help you save steps, charge for previously unbillable time, and win more business. But the true change requires more than software. Our live coaching helps you understand and control the aspects of your business that matter most. It's about time for a new era of service, and we're leading the way. If you're ready to join the hundreds of other contractors who've been able to increase profit margins more than 50% within 6 months, visit Sarah.tech today. That's Sarah, SERA.tech today.